You've seen them, right? Spiral staircases? They look amazing in fancy lofts and cool historic homes. They save a ton of space and just scream style. But here's the thing. Behind that beautiful, elegant curve is a world of incredibly strict rules we're about to dive into.
What seems like a pretty straightforward design choice is actually controlled by a really specific set of regulations. And if you get even one little detail wrong, your entire project could be dead in the water. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden rules that dictate what a spiral staircase can and, more importantly, cannot be.
Okay, first things first. We have to know exactly what we're talking about. Because in the eyes of a building inspector, what you call a spiral stair might not actually be what they consider a spiral stair.
And you really need to know the answer to this, because getting it right determines which set of rules you have to follow. And believe me, getting this wrong is a classic mistake that trips people up right at the start.
Okay, so let's break down the official definition from the International Building Code. Two things absolutely have to be true. One, you need those wedge-shaped steps, or winder treads. And two, this is the big one, they must be attached to a central column. No column, no spiral. Simple as that.
And you can see the difference so clearly here. A true spiral stair literally hugs that central pole. A curved stair has that wide open space in the middle, and a winder stair is really just using those pie-shaped treads to make a turn. So why are we getting so hung up on this? It's because a true spiral staircase gets its own special and much more restrictive set of rules.
All right, now for the fun part, the numbers. The hard and fast dimensions that you just can't mess with. Once you know for sure that you've got a true spiral, these measurements kick in, and they are not suggestions.
So the first number to burn into your brain, 60 inches. That's 5 feet. That is the absolute rock-bottom minimum overall diameter for a spiral staircase to be code compliant. So what about those smaller 48-inch kits you see online? Yeah, they might be okay for a little used attic, but they are not going to pass inspection for a main living area. Now, don't forget that 60 inches is the whole thing. The actual room you have to walk is way less. The code demands at least 26 inches of clear walking space, and that's measured from the center pole out to the inside of the handrail. Okay, this next one is kinda weird, actually. The maximum height for each step, or the riser, is 9.5 inches. That's way more than a normal staircase, which is usually capped around 7 inches. Why? The code basically knows you're going to take these stairs a little more carefully, so it allows for a steeper climb.
And then there's headroom. You need at least 78 inches, that's 6'6", of clear vertical space. But here's the tricky part. You have to maintain that clearance through the entire rotation of the stair. It's not just about ducking at one spot. You have to have that clearance for the entire journey up or down.
Okay, let's talk about the steps themselves, because this is probably the most misunderstood rule of them all. Since the treads are shaped like wedges, you can't just measure their depth anywhere you want.
So the code gets really specific. It created this concept called the walking line. Picture yourself walking up. You're not hugging the pole, right? And you're not scraping the outer wall either. You're somewhere in the middle. Well, the code says that path is exactly 12 inches out from the skinny part of the step. And at that exact point, the tread has to be at least 7.5 inches deep.
Okay, after all those strict numbers, I've got some good news for you. Whether you're building a huge commercial building or just your own home, when it comes to these core dimensions, the rules are exactly the same. The diameter, the width, the riser, the tread, the headroom. Identical. That makes life a little easier, right? The real difference? Well, that comes down to something much more serious. How you're allowed to use it. And that brings us to it. The number one restriction on spiral staircases, and the number one reason they get rejected by inspectors. And it's all about what happens in an emergency. So let's just cut to the chase. A fire breaks out. You need to get out, and get out fast. Can this beautiful spiral staircase be your main way out? And as you can see, the answer is pretty much always a big fat no. For apartment buildings, for commercial spaces, forget about it. A spiral stair cannot be your required means of egress. It's just too narrow, too slow, it's a bottleneck when every second counts. The only time it's really allowed is for a small loft or mezzanine inside a single house.
This is where the lingo becomes super important. You have a required stair and a supplemental stair. Think of it this way. The required stair is your life raft. It's what gets everyone out safely. But if you already have that, you can then add a spiral stair as a supplemental feature. Basically, an optional convenience extra. And that's how most of them get approved.
Okay, so let's put it all together and look at the top ways people mess this up. the common and costly mistakes that will get your plan stamped rejected.
Here they are, the top 5 permit fails. Going with a diameter under 60 inches. Trying to pass it off as the main fire escape, we just talked about that one. Measuring that tread depth at the wrong spot. Not having a continuous handrail from top to bottom. And of course, getting that rotating headroom calculation wrong. Any one of these will get you a stop work order.
And hey, if you're watching this from outside the US, don't think you're off the hook. These ideas, these safety principles, they're pretty much universal. They pop up in building codes all over the world.
What's really cool is seeing the little differences. Take that walking line measurement. In the US, it's 12 inches out from the center. But in Australia, it's a bit closer, and in Canada, it's somewhere in between. The numbers are slightly different, but the goal is identical, to make sure you have a safe, solid place to put your foot.
So look, if you walk away with just one single thing from all this, let it be this. A spiral staircase is an architectural feature. It's a beautiful, space-saving convenience. It is not a fire escape. If you design with that in mind from day one, you're going to be in a much, much better position.
So there you have it. They're gorgeous, they're clever, but they are wrapped up in a deep set of rules that are all about keeping us safe. So now that you know the hidden rules, the question is a spiral staircase still the right move for your space?